It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing a legend in my mind and in the minds of many dentists around the world, Stephen Thorne, who is the founder, president, and CEO of Pacific Dental Services, or PDS for short. PDS is a leading dental support organization referred to as a DSO that provides business services to an astounding 540 dental practices throughout the United States. That's just mind-boggling. Stephen graduated from UCLA in 1989 with a degree in economics and business. He earned his master's in health administration from Chapman University in 1994. This year, he was awarded the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters from A.T. Still University, the world's first osteopathic medical school. After college, Stephen worked for his father, a dentist, managing a struggling dental practice. He helped the office reach success and continued to work with his father for several years before creating PDS. PDS strives to be the provider of choice for practicing dentists to maximize individual and professional God-given potential. PDS values service, not just for its customers, but also for the less fortunate through the PDS Foundation, a charitable organization that provides service programs for oral health care locally, nationally, and internationally. Outside of PDS, Mr. Thorne is an active leader in the dental industry. He helped form the Association of Dental Support Organizations and served as the founding president for 3 years. He's a member of the Dean's Advisory Board for Harvard School of Dental Medicine, where he'll be helping them to integrate oral health and medicine. He is also on a board of trusted dental scholars and professionals with the Santa Fe group called the Strategic Advisory Council. They're determined to expand oral health care access to aging Americans. He resides in Nevada with his wife, Pam, of 25 years, and they have 7 children. Oh, my God. I grew up, there were 7 kids in my family. I had 5 sisters and a brother, and I had 4 kids. Is that how you lost all your hair, raising 7 children?
No, it's actually comes from the profession. The kids are easy compared to dentists.
I guarantee you, there's no doubt about it. There's, 250,000 dentists on Dental Town, and you can't get 2 of them to agree that today is Tuesday. Hey, I want you to start off telling your story. I mean, your dad's a dentist. 2 of your brothers are dentists. I mean, you were born into dentistry.
And my father was a dentist, or my grandfather. My grandfather graduated Harvard Dental School, I think in don't hold me to the date, 1936 or 39 or something like that. We looked it up. So, yeah.
Wow. So you're 3rd generation dentistry.
3rd generation dentistry. That's right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. So it was 1989. I'd never thought of going into dentistry. I had watched my dad practice all these years, and I wanted to go in the investment world, kind of the other side that's kind of tiptoed into dentistry lately, but maybe more than tiptoed. But it was 1989. It's tough to get a job. And so my father was a reasonably progressive dentist, and he wanted to computerize his dental office. And I was good on a computer. So I said, hey, I'll do it for you. So my dad hired me for 2 days a week to put in, network a system. Back then it's called Easy Dental. I think it's still around.
Yep.
And Novell networks. And this was the day of the old IBM PCs, the XTs, those floppy disks. Most people listening probably don't even know what a floppy disk is. Floppy disk, that whole deal. And when I was in his office, I just started helping him out, asking a lot of questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And kind of just by my nature got into the business side of things with him. And before long, he goes, hey, I kind of like this. Why don't you come work for me full time? And I said, okay, I'll do it. And I started working for my father. A couple months after that, a practice he had sold a few years back in Barstow, California, for all places. Barstow, it's halfway between me and you right now, Howard. Barstow, California, had gone back to the bank. The doc had vanished, and the bank was sitting there holding a note. They called my father, asked him if he'd take the practice back for the note, and he said, yeah, on one condition that to me, he said, on one condition that I don't have to go back to Barstow. You go out and fix it all up and get it rocking again. And we'll sell it, and I'll share some of the profits with you if you do well. I said, sure, I'll go for it. So I got my start fixing up a dental practice in halfway between Southern California and Las Vegas.
At what
halfway
age?
Between. So I was 22 years old then.
Oh my God, that is so funny. And that. So then what happened? You fixed up and sold
So
it?
I fixed it up, and we did okay. And we sold it to the associate that was in there that was working for my father, and he did pretty well. And I started working for my father, and they some more back at his practice, and he kind of liked it. Things were going well. He was making a lot more money. Brought on an associate, just did kind of what we do now. I actually got into consulting. I thought, okay, people want my help here, and I didn't know anything about a DSO model or any of that stuff back then. So I started doing a little consulting for a couple docs. I learned I didn't like that because by that time I was maybe 23 years old, and they didn't like listening to me, and so I didn't like doing something where I wasn't adding value to them, or they weren't changing any behaviors. So I got out of that and then said, hey, why don't we do another one together, and I'll manage it for you. And that practice was in Hesperia, California. But during that time, there's a little nuance to the story, Howard. I don't know if I've ever told you it. My college roommate at UCLA, his father started one of the first medical practice support organizations in the state of California. It's called Bristol Park Medical Group. And so I started looking around going, hey, there's a business here. These docs all want my help. And so I reached out to him, Dr. Hagedorn is his name, and said, hey, help me out. Teach me some of this stuff. What'd you do? Because I bet I can do the same thing in dentistry. And so he taught me the ropes, got me hooked up with the proper lawyers and accountants and all of that. And so I learned all that and set that all up for my dad. And then when I split with my dad in 1993 and went out on my own in 1994, I had all the structures, systems, and all that in place. So PDS was actually founded in June of 1994.
So, did your dad continue a DSO? Does he have a DSO model or?
No, my dad actually, I was just with him yesterday. He may go back and practice a little bit more. He's 76 now. But no, he liked the smaller practice. He liked making the money when I was helping him operate. I think it was 5 practices at the peak. But he and I, family businesses, they can be tough. And so he and I decided it'd be best if we split. And I went out on my own in 93 and started in 94.
Yeah, I loved working for my dad for 10 years. He had 9 restaurants and I loved it. But you had to always be the passive,
Yeah.
if he said go right, there was no wasting time discussing left. And some of the biggest mistakes that me and my mom knew he was making when I was in high school, he had no interest in listening to.
Yeah, same story. So you know my world.
Yeah. And when you
But
have
what it did give me back then, I mean, I owe so much to my father. What it did give me, I got to learn the dental office operations from the ground up. I mean, I didn't know the numbers of teeth when I started, surfaces. I didn't know procedures, CDT codes. I didn't know any of that. He taught me all of that. He taught me every detail. He taught me about insurance carriers, how to set up financing, and so I got lucky in the DSO space where I learned the dentist world as good as any non-dentist can. So
how old are you now then? If it started in June 1994, how old were you in June 1994 when you started?
Oh, I got to do the math. I know how old I am now. I think I'm 49.
You're 49. So what's 2016 minus 1994, Ryan? Come on, I paid for a 4-year college degree from you.
Well,
did they do the
5? So I was 27, I think.
What?
Because I graduated college 22. Yeah.
So you were 22 years old when you started?
No, I was 22 when I started, and I was 27 when I founded PDS.
27, and then if you're 49, so you've been doing it 22 years.
22 years in PDS, 27 years in the I call it 28 years. I'm going on my 28th year.
So let's talk about the first question is, how has dentistry changed in the 27 years you've been in it? I mean, you grew up, so you saw your dad coming home every night from work, you seen your brother. How has it changed in the last 3 decades?
Yeah, it's probably the single question I get asked the most. This change of what's happened. Now, the 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 core of what dentists do every day of helping patients get the care they need and all the psychological dynamics around that, the financial aspects of that, and getting patients willing to pay for those services, um, directing support staff, and working with auxiliaries, and working with you're working in a hole this big, and the tongue is that big, and so some of the core basics of dentistry have not changed one little bit. I'll give you an example. Whenever a dentist leaves the operatory, almost always, if the dental assistant will stay in the operatory, the patient will turn to the dental assistant and ask them a question, right? And they'll ask him, and those questions in 28 years haven't changed. Hey, is he a good dentist? Oh, do you get your dentistry done by him? Is he gentle? Or is it really worth it? Do you think I should get that? They're the same questions. And I used to joke about this when I was working for my dad. And I'd tell him, look, if you don't do a good job in there, when they ask me if he's a gentle dentist, I'll say, no, he's pretty bad. He's gonna hurt you. And is he expensive? Yeah, my father's super expensive, so you might want to find somebody else. I used to tease him all the time about that. But we know some of these things that we can teach our staff about to help dentists do a better job and help dentists do more of the care they can deliver. So those haven't changed. Now the business side has massively changed. For the first time in my career, in almost 28 years, I don't have a clear vision of how to navigate all the changes happening. I mean, we've got the digitization of dentistry happening at lightning speed. We've got the DSO space just blowing up. We've got money coming into dentistry from outside investors, whether it's banks or investment banks or private equity or however, coming in like crazy, because people have figured out that dentistry is a really, really good business. And so it's just taking in so much money. You add in the amount of debt students have from school. You add the changing environment where now I think over 50% of graduating dentists are female. Back when I started, I'll take a guess, that was probably 10%. Even though my first partner that I supported, she was a female, which I guess kicked us off for PDS. And you start adding in these different dynamics, and it's no wonder dentistry is changing. The competition is fierce. I mean, look, I just said my dad may go back practicing dentistry a little bit at 76. Dentists aren't retiring like they used to, and yet there are more dental schools than ever before, and those dental schools are adding seats. So there's a lot of competition out there right now. So I tell people it's the most exciting time ever in dentistry, and it's a little bit on the business side, a little bit of the most scary side. I think in the end, I think patients are the big winners here, because I think the level of service levels going up and up and up. I think care levels going up and up and up. And so I think the American consumer, and prices have been relatively the same or coming down. The American consumers are the big winners.
When I got out of school, you just submitted your fees to the indemnity insurance plans like Delta, and they just paid a percent of whatever your fees. You submitted your fee every year, and the margins were huge. Now, 82% of the dentists take PPOs, where the insurance company said, we're not going to take your fees. We're going to send you the fees. And on average, those fees are about 40% less. And what's bizarre is when I got out of school, people would say, I'd say, what is your top 3 costs? They'd say labor 25, lab 10, supplies 6. Now, the number one cost doesn't even show up on your accounting statement. It's the adjusted production from your fee schedule to the PPOs, which is about 25% to 40, depending on the office.
Yeah.
And how do you think switching from indemnity to PPO has affected the dental industry?
It's a great question. Thinking about the dental insurance model. I don't want to get on my soapbox there because I I could tell by the way you frame the question, we may think alike. It's challenging when 80% of dentists, or you said 82% of dentists, are willing to take a plan. Guess who's in charge? Right? The plan is in charge. They get to dictate those prices. And if you look at what employers pay, we're a large employer. Talk to a lot of employers. I think Marco Vujicic just released a study looking at that. You look at what employers are paying, they're not paying less. So employers are paying more and more and more, and insurance companies are paying less and less and less. Where's all that money going?
To a nonprofit. Isn't that a crack up? They're all nonprofits.
To a nonprofit or somewhere else. Right?
But what does that say about dentistry? Because you've been to Africa. How many countries have you been to?
I've been to like 65 countries, I think.
Yeah. Didn't you adopt some children from?
We adopted, two from Africa, and we helped. We're helping still to this day. We're helping develop a dental school in Africa. We have for over 5 years. And
that's in Tanzania?
No, it's in Tigray, Ethiopia.
Oh, Ethiopia. Yeah. When I heard what you were doing down there, I swear it made me cry. It really did. I mean, I think you're an amazing guy. Most people, if they go to Africa, they take pictures of giraffes and elephants, and you come home with 2 kids and start the first dental school. It's the first dental school in Ethiopia?
Well, it's not the first. No, there is a dental school in Addis, but this is the second one we've helped establish with Mekelle University there in Mekelle, which is a northern region. Tigray is a northern region of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is I think there's about 100 million people in Ethiopia, so it's a big country.
Yeah, to tell you how cool dentists are, though, on Dental Town, I was in Tanzania, and whenever I go to these countries, most normal people want to shop and go to restaurants and bars. I just look for dental offices. I go to taxi drivers and give them money and say, "Can you find me a dental office?" And I found this dental office in Tanzania, and it was this Muslim girl in the full burqa, and she had 2 assistants, and she showed me all around, and I said, if you had one dream, what would it be? And she goes, well, God bless Allah, I've always dreamed of an x-ray machine. So I said, watch this. We'll take a selfie. We'll put that request on Dental Town, and we put her address and all the contact information. That day, 3 dentists shipped her an x-ray machine that was in some extra op that they hadn't been using for a couple of years.
Right.
And I mean, that's just how cool dentists are. I just love Africa. But why healthcare? I mean, people in most countries pay for their own dentistry. I mean, there's no dental insurance in China and India and Africa and Brazil.
Right.
And then there's just these, out of 240 countries, there's just these 20 countries that say, well, I'll buy my house, I'll buy my car, I'll buy my clothes, I'll buy my cruise, I'll buy Christmas gifts. But when it comes to teeth, my boss or Obama should be paying for this. Why?
Right.
How do you get that out of Americans' heads? That your iPhone. What does a new iPhone 7 cost?
I don't know, $700 or so, probably.
$700, and they stand in line. I mean, there's a line out at the mall, 100 yards long, trying to give $700 for a phone, and then you say, "Oh yeah, this filling is $250," and they're like, well, I don't have insurance. And I'm like, well, yeah, well, no one has insurance in Asia, Africa, and South America. So where did you get the same money used that iPhone? Yeah, give me that same debit card and we'll fix your tooth. How do we navigate around that culture?
Well, back up a little bit with some of my thoughts on dental plans and the proliferation of dental plans out in America. In a way, it's thank God for dental plans. I mean, it improves access. People go to the dentist way more often when they have that dental plan. Now, I don't call that dental insurance because it doesn't insure really against anything. It's sort of a misnomer, right?
Right.
Sort of is being very nice. It's a dental plan, and they buy into a network of dentists willing to take a reduced price, but it improves access. So long as dentists can manage their costs well enough in that environment, it should be a win-win. Now I get you on the value people are placing on their teeth. I think in my career, I think it's growing, and I think with the studies that are being released, you get the Surgeon Generals talking about oral health care, which started, I think, with C. Everett Koop in the year 2000, and the latest ones are all doing the same thing. You get massive amounts of studies being released practically daily on the mouth-body connection, otherwise known as oral systemic health. You get leading dental schools starting to work on integrative care, whether it's ASDA, whether it's Harvard, or there's lots of dental schools working on integrating medical and dental, or actually it's integrating dental back into the overall healthcare system. And the relationship, not only association, high association, and some studies show causal. There was a study released 2 weeks ago showing causal effect of the bad bugs in your mouths, our mouths, the bad bacteria around periodontal disease causing atherosclerosis. I think as these get out there more and more, and with the aging population, people are putting more value on their teeth and are willing to pay for it. Now, is it going to be at a discounted price? Most likely, yes, it will be. But I think we'll continue to see people caring about their teeth. Now, that's against some of the data that Marko Vujicic has put out around adults going to the dentist, that adults are going to the dentist a little less. But I think over time, as we age, we're going to care a lot more about our teeth. And with that aging population, it is a great time to be in dentistry.
I want to go back and just talk a little bit more about you saying it's not insurance. There's a lot of kids that listen to this. I think about 20% of them are in dental school or just out of dental school. But insurance is, I insure 100 homes against burning down, and not even one a year will make a claim. Insurance is, I insure 100 cars against a car wreck, and not even one car will get a car wreck. Dentistry, if you insure 100 people, they all need a cleaning exam and x-ray. They all eat 150 pounds of sugar. None of them floss. What it basically is, it's a volume discount.
Correct.
The dentist says, well, I'll take a reduced fee because you're going to give me a volume of patients.
Correct.
And what I don't understand is why dentists don't blink at any plan. You know, we know that 38 to 40% of dentists will sign any PPO plan you send them. They won't even read it. They just click the agreement. Right. They get it. So 38% will take any plan, and it's about a 40% reduction in fee. But then when you ask them to go spend where they're spending, not even 1% on marketing, say, well, why don't you go spend 3% of revenue or 5% of revenue on marketing? They're like, no, I don't want to do that. And then you send them a contract. Okay, then do it for 40% off. Okay, where do I sign?
Right.
Why do you think they think like that? I mean, it's almost like it's still so many of the ones that are our age say things like, well, if you had prostate cancer, would you go to an oncologist in the yellow pages? I mean, if you had cancer, would you go to a doctor that was on Facebook? I mean, why do you think it's still just taboo against advertising because they're just old school? Or do you think they tried it and it didn't work? Or
I think it's a multitude of factors. I'm like I said, I'm not a dentist, but I think after so many years of doing this, I can guess what they're thinking. But one of the things we do at Pacific Dental, we do a lot of that work on behalf of our network of dentists. I mean, we have over 2,000 clinicians we support today.
In 540 locations?
I think we're going to finish about over 550 this year. So
you got 2,000 docs. So you're helping to manage 2,000 docs in 550 locations?
Some of those, over 2,000 clinicians, so a bunch of those are hygienists. I think if we're looking at total docs with specialists, we're probably at 1,200, 1,300, I'm guessing. So we have integrated practices. So I believe we're one of the strongest there. Roughly 50% of all the revenue that comes into the organization is specialty care. So we're
50%?
Roughly 50%. Yeah, we're pretty integrated.
And that's another bizarre thing. The hygienist goes in the room for an hour and does a cleaning, and the insurance wants to give, $60, $70.
Yeah, right.
I go in the room for an hour, pull 4 wisdom teeth, and they give me $800. Or I do a molar root canal, and they give me $800. It's like they keep hygiene. I mean, they just keep it to where if you want to do it right.
Yeah, it's like that's a sore spot for me because I'm passionate about patients taking care of their periodontal disease, and we know the studies. I mean, the CDC says 47% of adults over, I think it's what, 30 years old have periodontal disease, and now they're linking all this periodontal disease to chronic diseases, whether it's a heart disease or kidney disease or prostatitis, or for us, all us men out there, ED. It's like, man, get your teeth clean, floss. Use your water pick. Take care of yourself, right?
That was when I first realized I needed readers because I couldn't read my ED prescription. That's a good joke. Hey,
That is, hey,
yeah,
so back to your question.
but
I
I
think
want to
they
say
also
one.
get sucked into that vortex of, hey, I got to take these plans because I got to get patients. And frankly, competition is causing some of that because there's so much marketing out there for dentistry these days. I mean, who doesn't at their home get 3, 4, 5 mailers a day? You go on Google and try and find a dentist that, if you're not on the front page of Google, you're a nobody. So it is tough to attract patients when in the current time, right now, adult patient visits are a little down. They are a little down, but if you watch the trends, I think the trend line for the future is good. I'm excited about the trend for the
I'll
future.
tell you. I'll give you my marketing tip if you give me one for yours. But the whole planet knows that below the belt you can trade STDs. Going back to
Right,
gonorrhea, syphilis,
right,
whatever.
right.
And you still have all these people that are being treated by hygienists for periodontal disease every 3 months for 10 years, and they've never seen their husband. And you're like, come on, if you treated grandma every 3 months for gonorrhea, would you not eventually ask her, who are
Right.
you with? And this total oral systemic health, they're fine. And what's amazing is so many dentists don't even believe it. They're like, you can't catch periodontal disease from kissing. I was like, would this bug come from? Did it just evolve in the mouth? I
Right.
mean, it's like, could I just go out in my backyard and all of a sudden there's a giraffe there? Wouldn't the giraffe have to come from somewhere?
Right.
And so how is attracting new patients changed in the 30 years since you first met your dad in the office?
Yeah. So here's kind of my soapbox story on new patient flow is I think that the whole dental industry in the United States, I know you're worldwide in the dental industry in the United States, most dentists are addicted to new patients. And they're addicted like cocaine addiction, that if they don't get enough new patients, they're going to not be able to make their payroll and pay their rent. I say, you guys are crazy. Shut the back door. How many patients are leaving your practice and there's somebody else's new patient? So shut the back door and you're going to all have plenty of patients coming in. It's super simple. Just take care of the ones you got in there, help them get some dentistry, help them get some care, and they'll stick with you. Just do a good job, do it timely, care more about your patient's time than your time. Those are the dentists that are killing it. I mean, really crushing it in their business. They are extremely patient-centric, not clinician-centric. And then, yes, you have to market. You've got to have your name out there. You've got to be on Google. You got to be in the search. If you want to do some local marketing, whatever, get your name out. Yeah, you have to do that. Even the best have to do something to keep them out there. But I'll tell you what, it's not 6% of their spend. It's not 8% of their spend. It's not, or their revenue, or 10% of their spend. It's like 3% or 2% or 1%. And it works.
Well, I think it's funny because I'll be in some small town like Wichita, and like one DSO comes into town, and the 400 dentists like all freak out, and I'm sitting there saying, dude, look, you're in Derby, Kansas, and if your hygienist worked 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, she works 2,000 hours a year. She could clean 1,000 people's teeth twice a year. You've had 25 new patients a month for 40 years. You should have added 4 hygienists a decade. You should be up to 4, 8, 12, 16 full-time hygienists. You're 60 years old and you need new patients, and you think this new DSO in downtown Wichita is the enemy. Look in the mirror, dude. Every time you get a new patient, someone doesn't come back.
It's a mindset. What I've learned is the separation between greatness for dentists and kind of everybody else. It's not a total black line, but that separation is how they think. It's in their head. Are they patient-centric or are they clinician-centric? Man, it's like, when do patients want to come in? They want to come in
Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5.
8 to 5. Yeah, and orthodontists or pediatric docs that want to practice from 9 to 3, right? It's like, what mom, dad nowadays has time to come then? If you're in a geriatric area, they're usually up early. Start at 6:30. Why not? Serve that. If you're in a commuter area, go to work till 8 or 9. Take a Tuesday off or a Wednesday off and work a Saturday or a Sunday. There's nothing wrong with that. Build your business around the patient, what the patient wants.
I know a lot of dentists who love cranking out Monday, Tuesday, take off Wednesday, come back, do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, they love it. But you started this off saying the obvious. I mean, that dentistry is about trust. Is she a good dentist? Do you let her work on you? Do you think I need this? Do you think it's worth the money? So it all comes down to trust, because we sell invisible. When you go buy an iPhone, you know what an iPhone is. But when some guy comes to your door and says, I checked out your air conditioner and I can't fix it, you need a new one. Or you take your car into the body shop and they say, you know what, you need a whole new transmission. Or you go into the dental office, they say you need a root canal. You don't know from Adam if this guy is just trying to sell you something or if you trust it. So I want to ask you, what do patients trust? I mean, do you think you name all your dental offices the same, right? Pacific Dental Services?
No, they're all different.
Oh, they're all different.
They're all different.
And so some DSOs like Aspen names all their stores Aspen, correct?
Correct.
And some like you, do you think I'm getting to is this? Do you think the patient has more trust? Say, well, I trust you because you're with this big DSO name like Aspen, or do they not see? Like Walgreens and pharmacists, are they trusting I'm going to Walgreens, or are they trusting the pharmacist they're talking to?
Right. I think in our research and studies, both are true. I think there's something to building a brand. Take Mayo Clinic, take Scripps Institute, and you can go right through major healthcare systems that have done an unreal, extraordinary job of promoting great healthcare first. Extremely patient-centric, great healthcare. They've done a magnificent job. You look out on the West Coast where I started, and you think of Kaiser Permanente. They're really big in a staff model HMO style. When I went through school back getting my master's, people didn't think a whole lot of Kaiser. Nowadays, it's a whole different ballgame. They've changed that organization. So there's these types of organizations. Now, dentistry's never experienced it before. Aspen's the biggest out there on a branded scale. So Bob Fontana and team have done a great job doing what they do, and they serve in underserved markets, and they do an excellent job there. And so we've chosen a different path in more in suburban areas, multi-specialty group practices serving clinicians. So when PDS thinks about our customer are people like you, Howard. We serve dentists. That's what we do. We think we're pretty good at it. We're pretty good at helping you guys succeed, guys and gals, at building great practices to the level you want to get to. So can you do it? Yes. Can you do it our way still today? Heck yeah.
I have several very good friends in Phoenix that are connected with you for over a decade or 15 years and just love what they do, which is my lead up for my next question. I believe that free enterprise entrepreneurs, it's a born mindset, and it's a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week mindset.
Right.
What percent of the dentists do you think are just entrepreneurial, love the business, love the numbers, love doing that, versus, damn it, I just want to do a filling and a crown, and I really don't want to think about all this baloney?
Yeah, so the way I define that is are those people that are really business people that went to dental school. Like if I went to dental school and then all the clinicians, right? They're different. You think about dentists and they're tracked through school, through college, sciences. You think about their track through dental school, hardcore sciences. I practically failed out of science in high school, wasn't interested. And so there are two different, and those dentists that are truly entrepreneurial are few and far between. There's just not many of them. Oh, I'd put it a true entrepreneurial, I'd put it less than 5%. Okay. I mean, you got a guy like Rick Workman out there, okay? He's got the biggest DSO in the space, and he's a dentist, and he's crushed it out there from the business side. You know, he gets it. But there's others out there that are up and coming, but they're few and far between.
So has that changed? I mean, not to throw girls under a bus, but I think it's funny where a lot of people kept saying that, you know, dentistry used to be a major male profession. Now it's half and half. That's going to change. Because I go back to 29 years ago, and I graduated in 1987 from UMKC, and all those girls who were told, well, they're only going to work 6 years and they're going to marry a dentist, they're all going to have babies. My God, they're all still working. Yeah. And they also built some of the most amazing practices I've ever seen. Lisa Gonzalez, Stephanie Caramata. I mean, just amazing. So do you think the change in demographics that everybody keeps talking about is more just noise than reality? Or do you actually see data where when you're going, you just gave an amazing commencement speech here at AT Still. Jack Dillenberg told me it was the best commencement speech he's heard in eons. When you're lecturing that class, do you think the girls are more like, say, you know what, I want to work for Pacific Dental Services, I want an 8 to 5 job, I don't want to do the business stuff because I want to pick up my kids from school and do the soccer thing, versus the boys? Did you see a difference between them or not really?
I have our experience to watch, and then also talking to some of my friends like Dr. Workman and Bob Fontana and others. And I'll tell you, and this isn't a knock against the boys, and I think if you're keeping score right now, the girls might be kicking the boys' butts. This idea that they're going to work less, for the most part, our experience is total hogwash. I mean, back when 20, 30 years ago, you know, dentists worked 3-4 days a week too. They went on the golf course. And so the big complaint was, hey, the women aren't going to work 5 days a week. Well, the white males weren't either. So it's no different there. In fact, so many of them are so competitive, and it's amazing to see how dedicated they are to the profession, their practice. Now, do they like the fact that they can take time off and have children and take anywhere from a month to a couple months off and feel like their practice is going to continue along and be supported well? I think they like that. I think that's a plus for us, for sure. But then they come back and they work hard. I mean, our Dentist of the Year last year, we called it Award of Distinction, was female dentist, 2 practices in California. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, every time I lecture on dental school, I say, boys, listen, the greatest decision you could make in dental school is to marry one of these girls in the class. I mean, just come out married before you get the dental diploma. That's, I mean, it is just amazing how hardworking, focused all the girls of UMKC Class 87. I mean, any one of those women, every one of them just crushed it. You know, back to switching the dentist mindset from advertising new patients and asking them, why the hell do you still need new patients after you've been open 20, 30, 40 years when you're in a town of 5,000 people? Does that make any sense to you? But then when I look at the Fortune 500, they're big into loyalty brands. Sam's Club, Price Club, Amazon Prime. Sam's Club says, you know, no, we don't want to sell to anybody. We'd rather get you to commit and buy a membership and get a card because of the psychological change. When you have a membership to Sam's Club or Price Club or Amazon Prime, all the research shows on Amazon Prime members buy twice as much stuff per year as the non. So
Yeah.
how do you switch the mindset to dentists to say, focus on loyalty and customer focus instead of being dentist centric and burning and churning new patients for your whole career?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's I've spent almost 28 years working with dentists to try to get changes of behavior. And as we know, getting change of behavior from any clinicians, physicians, dentists is difficult. They get ingrained in school in a certain way, and it is challenging post school to change thinking and that sort of thing. But I think here's what I really think is going to happen. I think the reimbursement system is ripe for change. Whether Trump can abolish Obamacare or not, I think ACOs, some form of ACOs, are here to stay. I think ACOs are starting to gravitate to dentistry. Kaiser Permanente said they're going to expand their dental business. I think dentists are going to be looking at that and thinking how they contribute to the overall healthcare model for the future. 7 studies, I think, have been released showing how dentists can help reduce overall healthcare costs, mainly around chronic diseases, by Aetna, United Concordia, and there's a couple others. I think United Healthcare released one. There's a recent one. A couple others released at the latest Harvard meeting. So I think some of those things are going to start changing the thinking automatically about where do they fit in this healthcare ecosystem and how can they contribute. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, you're talking to a lot of dentists right now, from in dental school to just graduated to a lot of people who have been practicing 15, 20 years in a small rural area, burned out, fried. Who listening to you is a perfect fit for you? And by the way, and I know you're not, I know you don't need any new customers. I know you can't service all the what they say, Chick-fil-A only approves 0.04% of their franchise requests every year. In-N-Out Burger and Chick-fil-A could grow 1,000% a year if they took every franchisee. And I know you're not, but who is the fit for you? And what are you doing for me? How does it work? What are you doing? How does it work? What are some guys listening to you right now and say, I need help?
Well, to be clear, we're out looking for great docs to support. We are actively out there looking. We're not as good as Chick-fil-A at 0.4% or whatever you quoted, but we're real low. I think we're in the neighborhood of 2% or so that we bring on board, and we invest a lot into dentists when they come on in their first year, a lot of time, money, and trying to help them be successful. We know that if we can't help them be successful, meaning productive, that the odds are they're going to leave. We've got to help them be productive. And so we spend a lot of time and money at that. So we're looking at their people skills, maybe more so than their clinical. Now, I always teach that, hey, being a good clinician just gets you in the game. I mean, you can't be a bad clinician and stay in dentistry long. You got to be, you got to be a decent clinician. But from there, it's about your people skills, your leadership skills in the practice and with patients. So we're looking at that. We're looking at their motivations and do they want to be successful? We have a term in our organization called hungry and humble. We want them hungry to want to do well in life. I don't think the great thing about dentistry right now, the way it's reimbursed, the better you do at helping your patients get the dentistry they need, the better you do financially. I remember a story you told me 25 years ago. You told a story of playing golf with a friend of yours and something like, he was asking you how you could afford that house on the hill and pay that mortgage. And you said, what do you mean? I don't have a mortgage. That type of thing. We look for those hungry docs that want to do well and aren't afraid to tell the world that, hey, I do really well and I do well. I also do a lot of good things, but humble enough to keep learning. That's even more challenging. How do you find docs that at every stage in their career, at all stages in their career, go, I haven't learned it all. I want to learn more. I want to be better. I want to be a better clinician, a better leader, expand my leadership horizon. And that's different for each dentist. Leadership lit is different. Some can run multiple practices. Some absolutely cannot. Some just need to grow one. Some like to teach. Awesome. We have a way to do that. Some like to teach externally. We have lots of docs that teach externally. Some like to write. All sorts of things. And we just want to help them each grow in their career. So we're looking for those hungry and humble in all facets of dentistry.
Well, tell the ones that like to teach to create online CE for us. That's been a big change. I started, in Phoenix, where University of Phoenix was, so I couldn't miss that business model. So we started that in 2004. But we put up 350 courses, and they've been viewed almost 750,000 times. Because, the old school, you'd have to fly to LA, go to a convention, sit in a building, and now those millennials just sit there on their iPad, and it's just easier. I want to, in your 550 locations, do you see it easier in rural versus urban? I mean, when someone says, I want to take, will you help manage my office? And they're in like downtown San Fran or LA or Phoenix.
Yeah.
Do you just like, oh my God? And
that's a true story right there. I had a dentist call me up, referred to me to help him out. He has practices all the way up and down the coast of California, Silicon Valley, and that whole area, San Jose. He's paying I'm just guessing here, paying his dental assistants $35-40 an hour probably in those markets, and, dentist this. But he's stuck with the same dental plans that you have in Arizona or we have throughout the United States. Same reimbursement level. And those two just don't make sense. So absolutely, there's certain things that are easier in rural markets. Patient flow. Man, you just can put a sign up typically, and you get plenty of patient flow. But now try attracting dentists and specialists and hygienists that want to be there and stay there. Now, those that can move their family, things like that, they may take it. But you get a 30-year-old doc that is wanting to get married someday and try moving to some rural town, they're not going to last long. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and
but cities are tough too.
And that the key you just gave away is who will go there when they move their family. They've already got the wife and kid. Like the hungry and humble, moving a family, Mormon, or LDS. I mean, they will. They'll move an hour out in the rural. They've already got their family, and they'll do $1 million the first year and net 350, and that was their student loan indebtedness. But all the single boys want to go to Scottsdale. They won't take the 5 o'clock emergency because they want to hit happy hour, and they want to chase the ladies and martinis, and they're useless. So hungry, humble, have a family. That's your formula for
beach
rural.
Dollars. We call it. Well, we started that phrase in California. Beach dollars. The closer to the beach you live and practice, the less you make. The
Beach
further
dollars.
you go away, beach dollars. The less you make, not the more you make.
I want to ask you a straight up question that I get a lot by just like kids on Facebook. They'll say, do you think it's really worth it? And they'll be in high school, and they'll say, if you had to do it again, do you think going to dental school and graduating $350,000 in debt, do you think that's a good idea, or do you think that's a bad idea? How would you answer your own first cousin?
I get that question all the time. So I get it all the time. If your expectation is to practice the way my father practiced or my grandfather practiced, which was roughly the same, then no, it's not worth the investment. But if you're willing to update, modernize, figure out how you use technology, how you can put your business cap on, and even if you don't get supported by a company like ours, you need the support some way. You're going to get support. Whether you hire a operations manager or you hire a consulting company, you're getting support somewhere. And if you take advantage of that support and try and figure out where things are going, it's an awesome profession to be in. Our average owner doc in 2016 will probably make in the low 400,000s. So can they support?
Say that again.
Our average owner doc in the organization is going to make in the low 400,000s.
Your average owner doc at Pacific Dental Services makes in the low 400,000s.
Correct.
Okay, but go back. I think I cut you off. Go back. Who's listening to you right now that would be your perfect client? What are you doing for them? How does this work?
We're looking for these I call them kids now because I'm aged. So these kids out of school that are hungry and humble. We know the schools we like. We know the ones that do well on teaching their students how speed and how to talk to patients. We all know.
So
we know
you
all
think
those.
some dental
We
schools
rank all the schools.
Really? Would you share that list?
Probably not. It's an internal list, but I talk openly with the deans that I rate them all.
This is Dentistry Uncensored.
Maybe
we love to piss off people.
I got to run this by my legal counsel, but
no. Have a couple of beers and just fax it to me.
But we rank all the schools, so we got it. And I tell the deans whenever I'm with them, I'm their customer.
Is AT still a good? AT still is good one because you were giving. Okay, but go on.
Your school is great. By the way, your school is great. We're killing it in Kansas City. We're doing great.
Okay, so go back. Who's your client? Who are you talking to right now?
Those young hungry students, we love them. We have a group of docs they're in their 30s, early 40s, and they're going, wow, I'm working really, really hard. If I join PDS, and they're paying for the support. What dentists don't realize is they're paying for the support anyway. They're just going to pay a better company to help support them, which is us, all in one package. And they're going, I get the model. And they're moving their practice to us or selling their unsupported practice and coming to us and growing like crazy. Those docs crush it right out of the gate. Now, it's a growing group. I know Heartland gets a lot like that. We do too now. We love those docs. So those are probably the two big.
So let me get this clear. Do you own the dental office and the dentist as an employee, or is it different for all 50 states because of all the legal stuff?
Yeah, every state is different. I mean, I think in most states we're allowed to own the real estate, actually own the dirt in the building, I think, in most states. I'm not the expert on the laws on every single state. That's why I have a team of lawyers that keeps us tied in. But yeah, we don't employ docs.
These 1,300 docs, are they all employees?
They're employees of the professional corporations, not a PDS. PDS only employs a couple docs that help with training and maybe running our institute. Brad Guyton, who runs our PDS Institute. But no, we don't employ docs.
So you support docs?
We support docs.
You support docs.
Docs are a customer.
I want to ask you another very controversial question. You're a big proponent of CAD/CAM, and a lot of people, it's a big purchase. Whenever you're going to buy something for $150,000, dentists lose sleep over it. How many of your dental offices have a CEREC machine?
I'm going to guess here, but I'd say it's 98%.
Okay, why? You got a degree in economics. Why did you do this? And
well, there's a couple different things. We had our first CEREC machine in 1994, so you need to know a little history. First CEREC machine was 1994.
Okay, I had one before that.
Yeah, you had okay.
I had the CEREC one in '89.
Okay, and me as not being a dentist, I was watching that thing and it just made sense. I go, a machine? Because at the time I owned a lab. So I had all these guys in the lab making these crowns, all the money that goes into that going, and I can have a machine replace all these people. That light bulb went off. But I watched it because the docs were struggling with the quality and they weren't using it that much. It was difficult. You know that from probably having the first one. So one day I think it was early 2000s, I'm over at Loma Linda University with Charlie Goodacre. He was the dean at the time. He was a prosthodontist. And we're walking down the hall and there's a couple of CEREC machines sitting there. I go, hey, Doc, if we go full bore on this, I've been watching this technology all these years. Do you think the quality is good enough clinically that we're not going to get our butts in a sling by pushing the product? And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, I think it's about there. It's good enough. I'd go for it. So that was a dean watching the same stuff, a prosthodontist saying, hey, and look, it's the future. I mean, it's what 85, 90% of all crowns are made with a CAD/CAM machine today. So then I looked at how do we serve patients better? How can we help dentists serve patients better? Who wants to go to a dentist, get a prep, get a temp on, 20% of temps fall off, the teeth move, bring the crown back, or they put the goop in, the goop for a crown. Nobody likes that crap. When you can just use a little video monitor, scan it, and in 45 minutes, you deliver the crown and patient's out the door in a single visit. As one of my dentists taught me early on, he said, look, nothing good happens from the time I finish cutting that crown, nothing good happens till I put the permanent on. And so I think from a patient's perspective, you probably talked to lots of patients too. Patients hate coming back. They don't want to come back in 2 weeks. Docs, get over how sexy you think you are. You're not as sexy as you think. Patients don't want to come back.
Well, then why do so many people call me Dr. Chippendale? And I say, no, I'm Dr. Farran.
Because of that bow tie.
It's that bow
Take
tie.
your shirt off, yeah.
But so you think is it a customer service or is it an economic return on investment?
Both. I got all the numbers to prove it. We've posted them out. We've led, I don't have them handy with me right here, but Serona has them, and it's great. Remakes are down. Patient satisfaction's up. You look at our history because we track patients forever on patient satisfaction.
But what happens if you get the dentist who doesn't delegate and the dentist wants to scan and design and just do the whole damn thing? Do you have a lot of that? I mean, when I do it, when I get done with the prep, I leave and my 4 assistants all can do all of that, and I come in for the cementation. And some dental purists think that's not ethical, but then they'll take an impression, send it to a lab, and they didn't check off any of those steps. And then the crown shows up in a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. But like I said, what patient wants to come back for that delivery?
Yeah. I want to also ask you, you have a lot of doctors. For continuing education, a lot of the people are saying, what is the return investment? I mean, if I go spend all that money at 6 weeks of the Pankey Institute, will I be a better dentist? Or Spear or Coyce or, all these institutes? Or they're asking, well, should I go into obstructive sleep apnea and sleep medicine? Or should I go learn Invisalign? Or should I become an implantologist and go to Dominican Republic and learn how to be an implantologist? What would you say on continuing education that you see for your 550 doctors or offices with 1,300 dentists that you say, hey, go here. That you'll be a better, faster, easier, higher quality, more profitable doctor if you do that.
So I'm not sure there's many people in dentistry that have tried more things than me or Dr. Workman or Bob Fontana. Bob Fontana help dentists, help them improve their clinical skills, get them the education they need, education they want. What we've learned over the years is that the best happens when a mentee and a mentor work together side by side. Classes get some head knowledge, okay, but until they're working side by side in the operatory, live patient, here's what you do, here's how you solve that problem, here's what we do here. That's where real learning takes place. Incremental learning over time builds that confidence. And they've got to get that clinical competence to build the confidence. When they get that clinical competence, they build their confidence, they become better and better and better dentists. Whether it's implants, whether it's surgery, like you said, taking out thirds, whatever it is their passion is, they gravitate to that over time. We don't steer them at all. We just try to ignite that passion and give them the tools they need to be great at what they do and what they want to do.
Studies are showing that if over 30% of prescriptions you write for a patient, whether it be for high blood pressure or anything, are never filled. So it's basically 1/3. Do you think you like the CERAC because it's a same-day service? Do you think the patient likes it more if when he needs his wisdom tooth pulled, the oral surgeon goes through the office, or do you refer them to an oral surgeon's office? Same with ortho, pediatric dentistry, endodontics. And when you said at the beginning of the show that 50% of your revenue came from specialists?
Roughly.
And are you sending these patients from offices over to the specialist, or are you sending the specialist over to the office?
This is a softball, Howard, because we have the data because we could track if we refer out and if the patient comes back with the care, if we refer to one of our other offices, supported office, if we refer across the parking lot versus if we keep them in the same building. And it progressively gets better of their adherence to the prescription. The best we can do for patients is have it all under one roof. That's the highest likelihood. And we're talking millions of patient visits over years and years and years. Highest likelihood of them getting the care they need.
Yeah. And you promised me 1 hour, and I've already stole your hour.
You did.
Am I allowed to go overtime, or you got to run?
I got to run, but one more question.
2 more. I'm begging for 2. You're
Okay.
involved with 2 organizations. This is my final. It's a 2-part question. Just talk about the 2 organizations you're associated. You're associated with the Association of Dental Support Organizations, and you're associated with the Santa Fe Group. Why? Talk about those 2 things.
So I was one of the founders of it's called the DGPA, but now it's called the Association of Dental Support Organizations. I served as the initial founding president, and I think I've been president 3 times periodically because I'm passionate about the model. I'm passionate about helping dentistry, helping dentists get better and better and better. And there's going to be a chunk of dentistry for here on out that will be in a supported manner. Now, is it going to take over all private? And no, that's crazy to think it's going to take over, disintermediate all the private. No way, because dentists are going to get better and better too. But there's a big group of dentists that want the support. So I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about the industry. For the Santa Fe group, there's some of the leading thinkers of dentistry, and they're passionate about helping bring Medicare or dental benefits to some Medicare, some medically necessary. And I'm passionate about that too with what I've been learning the last 3, 4, 5 years around the mouth-body connection. What's going on in our mouth is happening in the rest of our body. Like you said, you transfer those bad bugs just through spit, let alone oral sex and all the other stuff people are doing and the effect it's having on our bodies. And the science is, I know it's not conclusive. I get that. I read all those articles too, but it's pretty darn strong. It is pretty darn strong all across the board, all across the world.
Well,
so I'm passionate about helping those guys out.
Well, when these doctors demand, they say, well, I demand evidence. Well, the New York Times just showed you have no evidence on floss. You have 0.
0, right.
And every epidemiologist I talked to that read that said, yeah, you don't have any research on flossing work. So at some point, you have to use common sense, knowing that we're not going to know everything for another 1,000 or 2,000 years. So one of my homies is listening to you and says, I'm hungry, I'm humble, I need help. Where do they call? Where do they email? What do they do?
Just go to our website,
PacificDentalServices.com.
yeah. And go on there. There'll be a page for them to email and get in contact with us.
And I really want to thank you for coming on the show, because when people talk about Pacific Dental, I always say to myself, have you ever met Steve Thorne? I mean, have you ever met him? And then I tell him about you and you're going to Africa, and I come home with a bunch of photos. You come home with 2 kids. I mean, you're a great guy. Another one is Aspen. I don't think 99% of dentists could pick Bob Fontana out of a police lineup. I wish you would go back to your Santa Fe group and your dental support organizations. And you've been on, Rick Workman's been on, and just say, put a face behind the name, because when you're a faceless institution, you're the IRS, you're the post office. But when they know that Apple came from Steve Jobs or Microsoft came from Bill Gates, when you put a human behind the company, it's just a better brand than when it's a faceless institution. I'm really honored that you came and put a face behind Pacific Dental Services for all the people who never met you. I think you're an amazing guy, and thank you so much for sharing an hour with my homies today.
Hey, thank you very much, Howard. It's been a fun ride. I remember the very first time you came to PDS. I don't know if you even remember it. Back in the 90s, came out here to Orange County and spoke at a meeting for us, and you did a dynamite job. It's been great being friends with you all these years, and thanks for the time today.
All right, buddy.